Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review AJR's 2021 album, OK Orchestra. It's really good. Lots of great songs here and yeah, really good overall. This is the track listing and these are the tracks added to my playlist, 9 out of 13, so most of them. This album is definitely really good. Most of the songs are pretty good and a couple are really outstanding. Despite this, there are a few not great tracks that are kind of unfortunately placed to mess up the flow of the whole album. The album kind of hollows out in the middle. OK Overture and Bummerland are a great start, although the Overture is probably the least good overture they've made, in my opinion. And 3 O'Clock Things is pretty good, but the middle 6 tracks are kind of only held together by Bang and Joe, both of which are good songs, but they get stretched pretty thin. The slower songs in the middle of the album aren't that great. They actually feel a little bit boring and aren't as high quality as some of their other stuff. Most of the faster tracks are consistently good, but there's definitely some wacky stuff here that doesn't work, such as a song like Humpty Dumpty. Fortunately, the album does manage to end really well. The last 3 tracks are probably better paced than the rest of the album. World's Smallest Violin is a great song, and Way Less Sad and Christmas in June are both pretty good as well. That last one is a pretty good track to end the album on. It's a slower song that's a lot more interesting than something like My Play earlier in the album. I think this album does the best with what it's got. The big hits here, like Bang, are a little stretched out, but that kind of helps the overall sound better than sort of stacking them at the front or the back. If they had just sort of set up all the good tracks right at the front or at the end, the album would feel sort of in half. As a result, it does feel like a consistent whole. It just kind of feels like the middle is a little bit lacking in meat. So overall, a really good album despite the not incredible flow. There were 5 singles released before the album in order: Bang, Bummerland, My Play, Way Less Sad, and World's Smallest Violin. Of these, Bang, Bummerland, and World's Smallest Violin were all definitely on the radio at the time, along with maybe Way Less Sad, I think. My favorite track here, though, is definitely World's Smallest Violin. It's definitely a track that deserves to be really popular, really interesting, and really cool. This album is one where the most popular tracks and the singles are clearly the best. And Bummerland and World's Smallest Violin are my favorites of these here, and I think World's Smallest Violin is more interesting. So I rank this album second out of the 4 AJR albums I've heard so far. It's definitely better than their 2017 or 2015 albums, but I do think that their 2019 album, Neo Theater, comes together better. The overall quality of songs is pretty similar, but Neo Theater doesn't have that weird hollowing out feeling in the middle, and probably begins better. It ends at least the same quality as OK Orchestra, so they kind of end up being almost the same, but with Neo Theater taking it on some certain sections. Additionally, this album doesn't take my top spot from 2021. That stays with Imagine Dragons' Mercury Act 1, which I mostly just like more. It's probably equivalent in quality, but I generally like the tracks on Mercury Act 1 better, and it definitely comes together more consistently than OK Orchestra. Most of the tracks are sort of a similar quality, and they flow together probably a little bit better, so it keeps the top spot here. Thank you for watching. Next up is Queen's 1982 album, Hot Space. It's not bad, even though it's super disco and kind of controversial. Not one of their best albums, but still pretty good in my opinion, actually. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.